Hello world, this is Daniel from Nerds with Academy, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about free-to-play. Free-to-play is a Dota 2 documentary, and it was produced by Valve, and it was released earlier this year. Hold on, let me take a step back. Free-to-play is a documentary about three players that play Dota 2, and it's about their trip to the International in 2011. And so it's the first huge LAN event, and it was essentially dwarfing all of the previous tournaments with a prize pool of over $1 million. And so it follows these three players. The players are Daniel Ishutin, or Dendi of Navi, Benedict Lim Han Yong, or HYHY, of Scythe Gaming, and Clinton Loomis, or Fear, of the Online Kingdom. He's now associated with, I believe it's Evil Geniuses, though. And so it follows these three people, both as they're preparing for the tournament and then sort of during the tournament, as well as afterward a little bit. And so I think it's important to know that the documentary, it really, I think at its heart, it's really not about Dota. It's about the journeys that these three people have. All three of them seem to be somewhat troubled, or at least that was sort of my takeaway from it. For instance, Dendi, he recently lost his father, and so he seems to just be throwing himself into the game as a way of escaping that. If you're familiar with Dota 2, the professional scene, he was a real famous player of a real successful team, and he has sort of this happy-go-lucky personality almost. And I wonder if it's part of like a manic-depressive episode, or if he's just, he uses this as a facade. In any case, I always get the sort of very sad vibe from him. Likewise, Fear, I mean, every time you see him, he has these huge bags under his eyes, and it looks like he's just, pretty worried, and he's having trouble sleeping. He was actually playing on a team. He was in Oregon at the time, but he was on a team in the UK, or in Europe anyway. And so he was basically keeping European hours on the West Coast, and so it was just screwing up his sleep schedule and all this other stuff. And so that was, you could tell that it was hard for him, and he was trying to figure out if he was going to be able to make enough money playing Dota, and so it was very stressful. And then HYHY, he recently, or just before the start of it, he gets dumped by his girlfriend. And, well, this is a tragic thing that happens to, anyone that finds himself with a girlfriend at one point or another. It's particularly hard for him because his girlfriend was the only one of his family that really supported him in trying to be a professional gamer. There are some interviews with HYHY's, I believe his mom and his aunt, and they're both very disparaging. And then later his father is saying, I wish you would go to school and study and do what I couldn't do, because he was working at the dockyard. For HYHY, all these people, they want him to go to school and study, and he actually failed some of his exams because he had to go to the International because they overlapped, and he had to redo a semester of school. And so overall, I think the documentary is very interesting, and it portrays these interesting stories fun story. Not fun is the right word, but it displays these stories of how these people perform in the tournament and how it affects them, sort of both before and after. I thought I was concerned, to be honest, when I first went into it. And I was thinking, this is going to be this hour and a half advertisement for Dota, and I really don't think it is. I mean, I think this movie could have been made about any sport at all, and I think it would have been compelling. Even if it's something that I'm not familiar with, I think I would have enjoyed it, just because it does a good job of sort of establishing these characters and following them through the tournament. One thing that I thought was a little bit weird is that during the sections that are describing what's happening in the game, they use these like pre-rendered animations to show stuff looking really cool, and that part's probably the part of it that's doing like the advertising for how cool Dota is or whatever, and it's all this pre-rendered stuff, and so that's really weird and a little bit deceiving. And honestly, I would have just rather seen the game footage anyway. But that's a rather minor part, and there's just a couple small shots throughout the entire thing that are like that, saying, and then Dendi made this awesome play by actually casting Black Hole and not feeding the other team. So, there's some sort of goofy stuff like that, but overall I thought it was very interesting. I think it's important that it shows sort of this moment in esports when particularly Dota became really big, but again, it could have been any game, and also how it affects the lives of these three young men. Another thing that's kind of nice about it is the documentary is completely available for free. I watched it on YouTube. I think you can also get it on Amazon or iTunes or whatever you want. So, I think my criticisms of the movie, again, I thought the animations were kind of goofy and weird, and also I don't know that it got off to the best start. I think that the beginning of the documentary didn't do a good. It didn't feel like it established the three main people as quickly as it could have. So there's sort of the first couple minutes are talking about the rise of the tournament, or the planning of the tournament and so forth, and I don't think that it quite fit. The feeling of it was just wrong and choppy. It didn't quite have the sort of human-centered focus that the rest of the documentary really took. And so I thought the beginning of it was a little bit weird, the first act, as it were. I don't know that there's I don't know if there are other esports documentaries out there that cover the rise of particular esports, and I think that would be something that'd be fun to investigate. So I'm gonna definitely check out some other things of those. Anyway, I think that's about it. Overall, I think it's worth the 75 minutes of your life to check it out. If you're into Dota, especially, you may have already watched it, and if not, then yeah, check it out anyway. I think it's pretty good. And again, it's free, so the price is right. If you liked the video, go ahead and feel free to give it a thumbs up, or if you thought it was terrible and a ridiculous waste of your time, give it a thumbs down, and tell me in the comments why you thought it sucked. That kind of stuff actually really helps, because that way I know how to improve. Or if you want to see more of my videos, you can check out my review of the Forever War, or also I talk a little bit about Crypto the Necrodancer. Or you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button to see even more stuff. Thanks!